Greetings. In case it doesn't start recording straight away, I'll say like, comment, subscribe, all that. Switch notifications on if you want notifications. So we're going to be doing the weakest function in INTJ, FE. Some phrases for this. Sometimes, not with everyone, you can get facial paralysis. Also, but I will start here with, I don't know how much it's her comedic persona, Cat Timph, and part of me wondered, is she FE'd me? Because, like, that would be odd for an INTJ to do that. But perhaps she did like it. But again, it's her on-screen persona, Cat Timph, sort of libertarian INTJ persona. But getting back to this. So FE being the weakest function. So if we look here, none doesn't tick any boxes. It's not, with the nit being an introvert, it's not an introverting function. It's not a club function. It's not part of the NT preference. And it's not valued. It has nothing going for it in that respect. At least the F, if you compare FI, it's valued and it's a default function. It's an introverting function. And at least SI is a default function. So we will now move on. I don't wish to make this too long. Right then, so I wish to read through the correct bits. So slot 5 has been done. Disdained. I think that is exclusively about slot 7. Yes. So functions in this column are the least valued. Right then, so there's going to be something here. So yeah, 3 sort of concepts. Yeah. A way to think about this position, it's sometimes useful to think of it as binary, in that in quite a few types, you can actually, it's not like they are completely useless at the function in this position. It's like the degree is inappropriate. And so you can have, say, INTP and INFP resemblers who overuse SE or don't use it at all in overreacting. Or you could say ENFJs and ENTJs that become health nuts because of a previous not sort of caring for that area. So it's like, again, that binary, all or nothing, on or off, digital, 0 or 1. We'll go through a few of the others. So for intuiting, is that a theme with any? I'm not so sure I see that in ISFP and ISTP, with examples of them going full on any. Maybe you could see it with ESTJ and ESFJ, with the like, in not knowing how things are developed, they rigidly plan into the future, and it's, the future is like an extrapolation of now without knowing how it's going to change. It just, and I think part of that is the temperament of wanting things to stay the same because they want to stabilize the situation, whereas NI is looking at development. So we could go through a few others with the because it's explaining the nature of this position, this binary aspect of it. So now for the rational functions, TE. We've got Tamsi sort of running a sort of a business related to self-development. TE in ISFJ you might see more of because of the guardian temperament and just sort of the sense of duty to other people, and especially if it's TE that has to do with logistics, ISFJ can be good at that because the SI helps them out. What else? So TI, yeah, you can see examples of ESFP and ENFP where they become distrustful of someone's, say, theory, and maybe ironically, you would think for someone so weak at TI, they're able to point out some flaws in someone's reasoning. That's happened with some events with Jeff. And I thought, oh, that's a good bit of reasoning there, Jeff. It's like they're able to use TI to find the flaw in an argument. So that's not all the while, but that you can see it as like on or off. Now what else? So let's sort of like get to the roots of the matter. What else? So oh yeah, we're going to get to the FE, all or nothing, and then with the FI. So the FI would be like, it comes across in the ability to read someone's character, and absent any obvious sort of affect display things. So it's like they either overly trust people or completely distrust them. There's not those finely grained feelings about other people and interpersonal distance. So the solution for those two types is to become that character in Lie to Me. I think he's like an ESTP character. And he's sort of like has become a master of reading the affect display of people and knowing when they're lying. Paul Ekman advised on the series. And so a lot of the stuff in that series is real stuff coming from Ekman. And so now we get to FE. FE being used all or nothing. Maybe it sort of comes through in INTJ with showing, I think they tend to show more negative emotion than positive emotion, and they're not quite comfortable showing positive emotion. And when an INTJ resemblor smiles, it's like blink and you miss it. It's like opposite of ESFJ. Like when an ESFJ is not smiling, something's wrong. And INTJ, it's like they smile and it's gone. Almost blink and you miss it. They're not used to smiling. So these are themes, not also, but it is a theme there. Affect display issues, and also with the tone of voice that you get with ISTJs. If you look up the character I.L.I, who's based on a real person, ISTJ, that flat affect, and if you look up the former Prime Minister John Major, ISTJ, he's got that sort of like monotonal voice. So that's something about that position. That it does tend to be binary. And again, averse to it in other people. So INTJ resemblers really averse to FE in other people. They just see it as have a nice day in sincerity kind of stuff. And actually, the quote from Avon, which I'll get onto later, speaks to that, how they see FE. So let's read through this because it might be a bit small. In fact, I might disappear for a moment so that to make this a touch bigger. Here we go. See if that helps. Dr. Dario Nardi's cognitive processes assessment, found at peersofadmission.com, showed the inferior function was almost always in the bottom half of the scores. Functions in slot 6 and 8 are opposite invertness from the default row and are part of the counter club functions. Their weaknesses are unsurprising. Thinker suggestible. Okay, I've done that for that one. That was slot 6 with Jarvik. Right. Polarity, yes, that's all slot 6. I'm on slot 8. The function in slot 8 is the least valued of the lot. It is the Achilles heel of the psyche, the weakest function and the most disliked in others. Can be conflict with others who resemble a type which has this function as its dominant. Usually the type avoids, I'm just going to have a good cough. Usually the type avoids activities which draw on slot 8. But in some cases, it can be binary and an all or nothing, lacks showing lack of nuance in intuition of development. Oh, wait a minute. Lacks appropriate degree. All or nothing sense. It tends to be totally avoided or used as a blunt instrument, usually without skill, e.g., ESTJ or ESFJ resembler who make rigid plans for the future, showing lack of nuance in intuition and development. NI. That bit there is a continuation. Right, so that is enough on that. And then we'll go through the sub-functions as well and sort of show how INTJ can be weak there. So, awareness of group morality and emotion reading, being able to change the feeling state of others via expressivity of one's own feelings. Well, INTJ doesn't want to do that unless with people who they're properly close to. Group morality they don't care for. They're the most utilitarian of the NTs, and probably ESTP is the most utilitarian of the SPs, but for a different reason. Utilitarian as in doing what it's sort of like ends justify the means sort of thing, and not they don't, or in this case it's about the INTJ doesn't really care how it should be done, or it's sort of neutral when it comes to that. It's like, what is the most effective way? I said before that the TPs are more likely to do it their own way just for the sake of doing it their own way, whereas INTJs more do it just the most efficient way. And if that goes against how it should be done, they don't care, because they don't care about the approval of others, as in general people that they're not connected to. Only people that they actually care about are those close to them. And then the ability to change the feeling state of others via expressivity, and then that reduced affect display of INTJ, it's difficult for those people to then do that. There's a little bit of difference in the polarity of this between male and female INTJs. Female INTJ is a little bit less FE polar. Assertive, demonstrative dramatic emotions. Yeah, and INTJ really dislikes that in others. Sort of like drama queen sort of thing. Particularly the INTJ particularly dislikes ENFJ. So it's a little bit like Avon and Blake. Roger Blake, ENFJ. And Avon even said, Kurt Avon, Blake is an idealist. He cannot afford to think. He will fight to the last drop of their blood. So he had a fanatical desire to destroy the Federation, Terran Federation. Creative, performing arts with SE, has ability to artistically orchestrate facial expressivity, body language, and tone of voice for effects such that their face, body, and voice become instruments played by this subfunction. Yeah, but you get that through being in the moment, though. I actually did some directing this week. Two characters in. Well, it'll be a long time before those scenes, because those scenes have to be done in one block before you see them in Wilma's housemates. And then group harmony, focus on others. They do not care about harmony. INTJ focus on others if the person is important to them. Right, what have we got next? Cat Timph. Yeah, again, might be a persona is maybe an extension of her natural personality. Right, and then we actually get quite a lot of FE stuff in this Kersey profile. This is a bit of a build-up to it, in that this tendency of people to feel transparent and even incompetent in their presence often results in working relationships which have some psychological distance. Colleagues may describe INTJs as unemotional, reduced affect display. Let me get back on screen. Right. And at times cold and dispassionate. So this is super consistent with FE break in the SOCIONICS I.L.I. When in truth, they are merely taking the goals of the institution seriously and continue striving to achieve these goals. Fortunately, indifference or criticism from their fellow workers does not particularly bother masterminds. Exactly. Does not bother them if they believe that they are right. Yeah, with that strong NI conviction. All in all, they make dedicated, loyal employees whose loyalties are directed towards the system rather than toward individuals within the system. Right, so let's go and try and find... I mentioned this bit before about the SE and not wanting a submissive mate. Let's get towards FE stuff. Right, okay. Right, so we're getting towards here, the purple stuff. Right. Right, that's interesting though about the promise, but generally here, in general, masterminds rely on their head and not their heart to make these choices, and at times, therefore, they will seem cold and calculating. Even in more casual social situations, they may appear cold and may neglect to observe small rituals designed to put others at their ease. So you see, this is completely opposite from ESFJ, which is warm. For example, INTJs may communicate the time that is wasted if used for idle chit-chat, and thus people receive a sense of hurry up from them, which is not always intended. But I've been in an event with a few INTJ resemblers, and it's like there's not. It's sort of like going like this, but come on. Right, a sense of hurry up. For example, INTJs make no mistake, the emotions of an INTJ are hard to read. Reduced affect display. And neither male nor female of this type is apt to be very outgoing or emotionally expressive. On the contrary, they have a strong need for privacy and they do not enjoy physical contact except with the chosen few. So then, for all the socionics people out there who don't think this profile is like socionics I.L.I, I say read it carefully. Use your brain. You know, this is obviously FE break. And this profile is very TE valuing. Every idea is subjected to the test of usefulness. This is Kurt Avon. I'll try and do the voice. I've never understood why it should be necessary to become irrational in order to prove that you care. No, indeed, why it should be necessary to prove it at all. Now, the build-up to that was, how can you go at a time like this? What do you mean, a time Blake's sat up in another tree, Travis is sat up in that tree over there? Unless they're going to throw nuts at each other, I don't think much of a fight is going to break out before dawn. You never cared much for anyone, have you, Avon? Except for yourself. You're never involved, are you? And then that's the comeback. I've never understood why it should be necessary to become irrational. So to him, showing emotion is becoming irrational. It's a complete opposite point of view from ESFJ, which is like showing the warmth and reciprocating the warmth. Right, so I.L.Is are prone to criticize nag, which often ruins the atmosphere and or their own mood. Again, poor masters of their emotions may fluctuate randomly from calm to melancholy to aggressive discontent. So that fits in with the idea of it being binary, lack of control. Facial expressions or intonation may be somewhat inadequate, which is most noticeable during public speaking. Okay, now do you notice how that is like the same as the Kersey profile? They're describing the same kind of person. Which is now, given that David West Kersey's son, David Mark Kersey, got a PhD in sort of like natural language processing, and he ended up working for DARPA, and so he would have been around a lot of INTJ resemblers. Right. So they knew of them. They had experience of them. Finding internal balance is an important problem for them. Therefore, once they achieve a calm and relaxed state, I.L.Is really dislike being disturbed. But yeah, so that lack of control, the binary aspect, because we really do it as ethics of emotions, a function that shapes demonstrative and expressive behavior. What was that about? Nor emotionally expressive. Their emotions are hard to read. An unpleasant incident gets stuck in their mind and they can't calm down as their thoughts go back to it involuntarily. Yeah, so let's go here. And that's the Blake 7 line again. Again, but it's worse at expressing it. I think, yes, they can express like so in a way, they are poker face, in a way, but you could also say that they have the ability, maybe sometimes, not be able to hide their emotions or know when they should hide it, and then negativity can come out, and that spoil the atmosphere of other people. This is a feature of the function in this position. Text frequently refers to the weakness of its flip side. Yeah. And then we're going to have being angry, indignant, dramatizing events, ridiculing others, escalating conflicts emotionally. That's the way. Yeah. Well, I don't think all of them. On a bad day. And then he's got a really positive view of ESFJ, Victor's anti-P, the LII. Being happy, expressing enthusiasm, being friendly and open with people. That's the way ESFJ is. So it's like, it's not like all the while with ENFJ. Right then. So, again, that's where we are. In fact, maybe what I should have done, I didn't even need that there. I should have deleted that one and just had this one in there. Is that it? I've reached the end. I've reached the end. That's the end of this series. No more events in this series. Well, if you like this video series, please share it around. Now, what I might be doing next is ESFJ, 8 videos with some guests, and where this will actually be written out based on the long profile that I've written, like 13 pages of double-spaced A4 text. And so I'm able to boil that down and sort of do 8 separate videos on that. Right then, so I'm going to stop now. Toodle pip.